thank you so much for being here this morning.
On a Saturday.
In downtown.
Yeah.
And when I walked in, I'm like, you know, they're having a Mardi Gras celebration tonight.
Yes.
Did you know that?
No.
It already smells like Mardi Gras out there. I know it's coming in. But thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited. Just a few little housekeeping deals. The restrooms are down the hall. If at any time you need to use it, please just feel free. Feel free, like I'm stay chewing and munching all day long, so if you need to get more of a snack or what have you, we'll have a couple of breaks, a couple of maybe 10, 15-minute breaks. But we have a lot of information that we want to share with you. So we'll be checking in with you all and see if you need more breaks than what we've scheduled.
But feel free to get up if you need to get up.
Yes, yes. There's also, and I'll go over it more, but there can be some triggering content, you know, because we're talking about a lot of issues that can be triggering for us.
Yeah.
We'll be showing you some videos. So just want to, let you know. So whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, if you need a break, if you need to step out, if you need to speak with one of us at some point, please just let us know. Just take care of yourself. And we really want to make sure that we're creating a sacred, safe space for us to share, because this is not just us talking at you. We really want it to be an experience for all of you. And so, just respecting one another. We all have different backgrounds, different ideals. We're all women, but we all have our unique experiences. So just being really mindful of that so that all of you can get the most out of this experience. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, because this is a labyrinth, any conversation kind of carries, and we'll just have to whisper.
It'll be hard for me to whisper, but okay, so let's get to it. Let's dive in. So this is one of my favorite quotes. Each time women gather in circles with one another, the world heals a little more. And that's what we're hopeful that today, some of this will at minimum plant the seed. All of you that have come today, we're assuming it's because there's some parts, right, that maybe need healing. And so that's what we're hoping, that at minimum it starts that for you. So how about we get centered first? Because again, we may feel a little ungrounded at times. And so we like to lead you all in a meditation. I may just end up sitting a lot of this. I should not have. I'm trying to be cute with these heels. They're cute, but they're not comfortable. So I may end up sitting. Okay, so do you want me to do it? Or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, just do it.
All right. So let's get centered. And so I'm going to invite you to either close your eyes or lower your gaze, just to kind of block out any other stuff going on in the environment. And so let's just take 3 deep inhales and exhales. So inhale, exhale. Again, inhale, exhale. One more. And with this one, I want you to inhale, hold your breath, and then make your exhale longer. Okay. Now I'm going to invite you to maybe us clearing out anything that we may have brought into this space today that might be distracting you, what have you, just so we can be fully present. And so I'm going to invite you to either see, sense, or imagine a beautiful white light coming down from the top, down from the sky at the top of your head. And it's just going to start traveling all the way down. And with it, it's going to wash away anything that you don't need right now. So Just imagine that white light coming down from the crown of your head, down to your throat, over your shoulders, your torso, your lower torso, all the way down, taking with it anything that doesn't need to be there. Any worries, any apprehension, anxiety. And imagine all of that just coming out the soles of your feet, being deposited down into Mother Earth. It's all going to be recycled, so we don't have to worry about polluting it. And then I want you to either see, sense, or imagine either anchors or maybe roots coming out the soles of your feet and just traveling down, because this is going to be our support system. This is what's going to keep us grounded and secure. And just imagine that going down as far as you can envision, like the roots of a mighty oak tree. And then there's this beautiful golden light that you can either see, sense, or imagine, that they're wrapping themselves around. And that's going to have two purposes. It's going to keep us secure, and it's also going to feed. It's also going to feed those roots, and it's going to start traveling up. You can either see, sense, or imagine that it is feeding you, securing you, giving you confidence to speak your truth, hear your truth, traveling all the way back up your legs, your torso, your throat, and then up out the top of the crown of your head, and all around you that beautiful golden light surrounds you. This is what's going to support you, protect you, and guide you today. So take a minute, maybe 3 more deep inhales and exhales to really feel centered, supported, and clear. So inhale, exhale. Again, inhale, exhale. One more time, inhale, exhale, release. And when you're ready, start to wiggle your toes and maybe your fingers, move around a little bit, and bring your awareness back to the room. Okay, if you have water, you might want to sip some water, but all right. How's everybody feeling? Centered?
Grounded? Anyone
Sleepy?
fall asleep? I know.
Awesome. Okay, let's get started then. So we went over this, remember, breathe, safety's key. This is sacred work. Be kind to yourself, take breaks as needed, be kind to one another, and talk to one of us if needed, as needed. So, you want to go over the objectives?
Yeah. One of the main things we want y'all to leave with today is awareness of your unconscious beliefs. If we don't know that we're acting on our belief system, we don't know what the belief system is, we cannot guide and create our lives. And so if there's a life that you desire and that's not the one you have right now, getting clear on unconscious beliefs and fears is where we start. Also, we'll be talking about abundance and how to sort of access the mindset of abundance as opposed to scarcity. Scarcity is the area that most of us live in. Abundance is expansive. You'll learn more about that. But that's the state that actually the divine feminine lives in, is in abundance, is in allowing.
Does everybody know what we're talking about when we say divine feminine? No, can you
Yeah.
I love the way you break it down.
Oh, let's see if I can do it again. Divine feminine is an energy that is present in both males and females. It has nothing to do with gender or sex. It is the yin to the yang. It is where the yang is masculine, so the feminine is yin. It's allowing, receiving, being in the flow, creating. And it's less about doing, which is the masculine. The masculine is, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to go out and do it. And it's busy. We need a balance of both. Someone actually messaged me on Facebook saying that divine means God, and so am I preaching in some way? And I said, no, divine is just that which is bigger than us and yet part of all of us. So whether or not you believe in a higher power or not, it doesn't change our own energy body. Yes? Any questions? Divine? Okay. Some skills you can do when you leave today. Actually, we'll probably do them in here on how to release the scarcity mindset, and then the mantras and activities that you can do daily to have and create the life that you really desire.
Yeah, because we recognize sometimes we'll go to workshops and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
now I know all the stuff that I'm not doing and that I didn't do, and then it's like, so now what, right? Because part of this will be maybe sparking some revelation as far as unconscious beliefs that you might be holding. And then it's like, okay, so now I know that I have that. What do I do with it? So we're gonna do some exercises here, and then give you some applications that you can start doing today. So who are we?
Good question.
I recognize some of you, so some of you might know half of us.
Okay, so I'm Rabia Ilahi. That's me.
Such a pretty picture.
I know. That's what professional photographers and makeup artists can do.
That's
It took a village. No. So I'm a psychotherapist here in private practice in Houston. I work a lot with couples, families, individuals, that kind of stuff. I also do energy healing, and my practice is called Dharma Wellness. Whoop, whoop. There we go. I have a podcast that we just started. I am Dharma Talk, and we talk about all kinds of things, all the different roles that we play. I had to think about this one because so many things make my spirit soar, but I think the biggest thing is, the biggest payoff or happiness I get is when I can help a woman see who she really is, not who anyone tells her, because our entire lives, society's telling us who we are, who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to look like. Family tells us, media tells us, schools tell us. And I actually love when a woman can say, oh, that's who I was born to be, not this. You know, this doesn't belong to me, to who I am inside. And the perfect quote is this one by Rumi. Y'all can read that. We have no need to travel anywhere, just inside. That's where the jewels are. Let me tell you, let's see. Okay. Christiane Northrup, do any of you know who she is? She wrote this beautiful book called Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, something along that line. And she really is in touch with in the context of being female in a male-dominated, or where the man is the dominant, the male species is the dominant one. being female, many of us, and especially the culture that I come from, is very shaming. It's denying or somehow wanting women to apologize for being women. And that's something that no matter what we do, what we achieve, we're still judged differently. And so this hit home for me, given, which I'll show you next, where I come from and the kind of inherited cultural and religious rules for women, and why I'm so passionate about working with women. This is my paternal grandmother. She was not educated. She was from an aristocratic family, and she very much adhered to the role of being a woman in a Muslim society. My family's Muslim, and I grew up in Pakistan, but she was still in India at this time. And then when Pakistan in 1947 became its own country, both my parents' families crossed over from India into the new Pakistan. So that's my paternal grandmother. The lady second from the left is my maternal grandmother. She was also not educated and grew up under the rules of patriarchy, actually, and oppression. She had 13 kids. My mom is right there in the white. Sorry, she was number 2, and that's what my maternal grandmother did. She got pregnant and had child after child after child. And they didn't come from money, so the mindset on my mom's side was about hard work. You get educated, you get yourself out of whatever, and I'm proud of my grandfather, the man in the middle, for encouraging all of his daughters to go to school and to become something, which was very unusual. My mom was born in 1936, so in a Muslim country, that was unusual. Actually, even in the US. Parents in the middle, so happy on their wedding day. I know, that makes my siblings and I laugh. My dad on the left, he was sort of, the son of this prominent family, and he was a great athlete. He was a doctor. He taught at the medical school at, I think, the age of 19 or 20. Wow. So a lot of women really liked him. He's handsome, too. But then my mom showed up. And so she left the little town she grew up in and moved to the big city where he lived, and she got into medical school. And so, again, this is her education from my dad. It was also education, but it was not as much of a fight because he was a man, he was also fair-complected and tall, and from a prominent family. And all of these things mean something in that culture. And I think they mean something in a lot of cultures. Yeah, for sure. So they met, dated, went to England and got married. His mom did not like her because she did not come from the family that she wanted for her son, her golden child. That's my dad. He was also a tennis player. Okay, so here's my dad. Oh, how do I go back? Oops. Sorry. How do I go back?
I think you have to.
Oh, okay, so he's playing tennis, and this is what my mom's doing. I mean, he also, he worked, but my mom, she worked until 5 weeks before she died. Wow. We had to make her leave her office. She loved her patients, and they loved her. So that's her doing her thing, not only taking care of us, but also taking care of her patients. My dad, not so much. He was playing tennis when he wasn't working. The 4 sisters with my dad's mom, we moved to America when I was about 7, just under 7. And so we were 4 girls. My parents kept trying till they got a boy, and they did, and they're paying for it now. This is me in high school, so I was kind of like, you know, American in playing sports and all that stuff. And then these are my daughters. My youngest, Zara, is 8. My bonus daughter, Gabby, is 16. And that's Zara. That's her personality in a T. That's all of us, and my niece, who's naked. But it's okay. That's it. That's, yeah, now it's you. That's not me. Any questions so far? Okay.
All right. So I'm Eliza Boquin. Like I said, I know some of y'all, I've seen some of y'all before. I should have got a clicker or something. Does this clicker work? So those are my, you know, credentials, right? Like we're both in private practice. Mine is the Flow and Ease Healing Center. My license is in marriage and family therapy. We graduated from, not at the same time, but from the same program. I'm also a sex therapist. And so all that means, because sometimes people are like, what does that mean? All that means is I have more training in dealing with issues around sexuality, because as working in relationships, even working individually with people, we only receive a limited amount of training in how to deal with issues around sexuality, and that wasn't going to be enough for me. So, so I have additional training in that. I'm also an energy healing practitioner. Rabia really is one of my mentors in where I go to for healing, and I'm so excited that she introduced me to this world of energy healing, so that we're really able to take like all the different parts of us and understand and take a more holistic approach to our healing. I'm also the co-founder of Melanin and Mental Health, and my partner is here. And what that is we, as a woman of color, as a clinician of color, finding other clinician of colors was difficult. And so my partner and I have created Melanin and Mental Health, which really is an initiative that we've taken to change the way that Black and Latinx communities think about mental health, think about therapy, how they approach it, and what options there are for them. So we have a website, a directory, merchandise, podcast, and I've been featured. It's just cool to say that you've been featured in Cosmo, right? It looks a lot cooler here than probably it actually is. What makes my spirit soar with this work? I love this work. I always tell people I love this work. But what makes my spirit soar is helping women heal shame, trauma, and pain that keeps them disempowered, that keeps them from being able to blocks them from being able to experience healthy, pleasure-filled, right? Because you can have a relationship, but is it pleasure-filled? And not just sexual pleasure, but just pleasure all around, and mutually satisfying. It's kind of like what Rabia was saying. It's like we might find ourselves giving. Are we receiving just as much as we're giving? So my spirit soars when I'm invited by another woman to be part of their healing process. That's why I'm so excited to be here today. So my story, my why. So same author. So every woman who heals herself helps heal all the women who came before her and all the women who come after her. I live by that. I love that quote. So my why begins with my grandmothers. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, and my great aunt. I love this picture. I love it because I can't go anywhere without my hoops, and so I love that my grandma was like wearing her hoops back then. Her eyebrows were just nice. But I love this picture, and it also, it makes me sad. Like, it makes me sad because I can see, you know, knowing who they were. So I'm Mexican. A lot of people don't know that. I'm Mexican, and so they were Mexican women who were Catholic, and they were good girls, and you did what you were supposed to do, and you took care of your family. The woman on the left,
Our right.
she's who I called grandmother, but she was actually my great aunt, because my actual grandmother died when my mom was about 3 months old. She was like maybe 26, very young. And actually, her sister is who kind of was pushed into the position of then becoming the wife of my grandfather. And she went on to be pregnant about 18 times, and had 2 sets of twins. One of the twins, she had I think 3 children who were born and didn't make it past the age of 5, which was very common. And so you just kept having babies until God didn't want you to have any more babies. Very poor women, and they didn't have money. My grandfather was a landscaper, really. He was the man cutting the lawn for the people across the border, right? Because we lived on the border. They lived on the Mexican side, so we'd go to the U.S. side, work for all the people, come home. He was an alcoholic, so he was also abusive, and she just had babies and tended to them all day and took care. And she was a devout Catholic. I'm talking about Mass every day. And she never complained. She was the epitome of a good woman, because she was serving God, she was serving for her family, she was serving her man. Which then, my mother, that's me, little E, and my baby brother at the time, my sister's not here, she wasn't there yet. But so everything that they kind of then passed on to my mother not even knowing that she knew that wasn't her mother, but she never knew, right? Because it's secrets, right? We keep secrets. We don't talk about it. And so she went on to actually be progressive in a sense, in that she was like, she would tell my grandmother, next time my dad comes home drunk like that, pop his ass with a pan, And my abuelita Carmelita would say, Juana, you're crazy, right? Like, you're crazy. Like, stop. But she still is led and ruled by fear. So all of that fear and all the anxiety, so she did more, but she was still limited, because that's not what a good girl does. That's not what we do. And so she passed on so many of those fears and limitations to me, because she wanted to keep me safe. But I wasn't like my mother, right? Because I was also born here, right? I was born here. And so, yes, I have this Mexican background, Catholic background. I have to sort of fit in there and do the right thing, but I'm also me, and I'm also American. So and what?
Weren't you a fly girl?
I wanted to be a fly girl. See, that's what I'm saying.
Fly girl pose.
That was my goal, to be a fly girl. I'm going to leave home when I turn 18, and I'm going to live in the city, and I would tell I remember being 15 and telling my parents, who had always preached about education, like, yes, go to college so you can get a nice job. And I remember telling them, like, yeah, well, when I grew up in Illinois, about an hour outside of Chicago, and I said, when I turn 18, that's when I'm going to go to the city. And they were like, what? What do you mean? You're crazy. And I thought, you've been telling me this whole time to go to college. Yeah, but we were talking like the community college that your cousins go to out in the boonies, and then you come home. What do you mean you're going to live by yourself? You can't do that. You can't take care of yourself. You're a girl. And I remember realizing in that moment, I was 15 years old, the vision and the dreams that I have are not going to be supported. And anything that I do accomplish is going to be in spite of. And that was hard. That was really hard, because the good girl, like the women before me, wanted the approval, needed the approval, and was really often crippled by needing that approval. So my why now is, this is 2 of them. These are my boys, because the woman in the middle has had to do a lot of healing, continues to do her own healing, so they can see a different way of a woman being. So they can have different expectations, and so they can have different expectations of themselves as men, right? As men of color, as men of integrity, as men of, all of that, and what they then one day expect from the women in their lives. And it's hard because they're hard-headed, and they're tired of hearing about me always, And she is my why for the future, right? I never want her to feel the limitations, and she doesn't clearly. I always tell, that's my, so these 2, that's Carlos, this is Marlon, and that's Layla. And Layla is everything that I ever want to be when I grow up. Self-assured, confident. I remember at age 10, it popped up in my Facebook memories, and she had said just randomly, she's like, Mom, if you're always doing, I don't even know where this came from because we were like watching TV. She's like, if you're always doing what other people want you to do, it's not really your life anyway, is it? And I was like, you're 10 and you figured that out. I'm like in my 40s and I'm just understanding that. So her and the future women to come after her and all the women gathered here today and all the women before me, that's why I do what I do. So we're really just like you, right? Maybe there's some variances, maybe there's some differences. I think sometimes when we see people who are maybe just a few steps ahead, we might think, oh, but we really probably have a lot more similarities after you hear our story.